is Kevin, and I'm coming to you from Magoosh. We are helping you with the GMAT, and specifically, we're going to be working on the argument analysis essay today. What I have here on the board is the first prompt in the released prompts by the GMAT. If you Google like GMAT AWA, it should be your first or second link. They release it in a PDF. Maybe there will be a link underneath this video as well. So what we're going to do in this video is go through this argument, break it down into its basic parts, the conclusion and the premises, and then I'll mention one or two flaws for you. Okay, so let's read the argument. Over time, the costs of processing go down because as organizations learn how to do things better, they become more efficient. In color processing, for example, the cost of a 3x5-inch print fell from 50 cents for 5 days service in 1970 to 20 cents for 1 day service in 1984. The same principle applies to the processing of food, and since Olympic Foods will soon celebrate its 25th birthday, we can expect that our long experience will enable us to minimize costs and thus maximize profits. So the first thing I do when I come into an argument is find the conclusion. You might be tempted to say that the conclusion's up here because they do say, kind of seems like they're stating a fact and then drawing a conclusion from it, but it's actually down here. A good signal is that the author here says can expect. So sometimes it's not a clear conclusion, but a plan, or in this case, an expectation that we're looking for. And so what they're saying is basically that Olympic Foods can expect to minimize costs and maximize profits. So that's what I'm going to write here. And it's always good to abbreviate as much as possible when you can. Okay, so they're claiming that Olympic Food is going to maximize profits and minimize costs. Then the next question is asked, why do they think that? What support have they provided for that to be true? And that is going to be our premises here. And so we can start back up at the top and we see they're talking about the cost of processing here. And they're saying that it goes down because organizations learn how to do things better and become more efficient. So they're saying that as an organization is around longer, they learn to do things efficiently. So we'll write here, organization, bold, efficient. The next fact that they give us is an example from the film processing industry, and they talk about how the costs went down over time. They have a time period from 1970 to 1984. It's not super important. They're also talking about how much the cost went down, 30 cents, and how quickly they can do the service now. So basically they're just showing that in the film processing industry, over time they were able to drop costs and be more efficient. So down here, right, film, arrow, more efficient. And that'll remind me of what was in the argument. Next, they say that the same principle applies to the processing of food. So they're just saying, they don't provide any proof of this, but they just say the principle applies to processing food. So here, same in food. And then finally, the last piece of evidence, you might leave this out, but I'm going to include it, is that Olympic Foods is 25 years old, or they're going to be 25 years old, so they assume they're going to maximize profits and minimize costs. So hopefully while I was going through this, some flaws jumped out at you. I'm only going to mention two for you now, and if you have other flaws that you found, go ahead and put those in the comments and we can respond to those. But one obvious flaw here is a false analogy. In this argument, they are comparing film processing and food processing. They say it right here. There's no reason for us to believe that food processing and film processing are the same. I mean, they're both processing stuff, but obviously their products are very different. Food processing is being regulated by the FDA. Film processing is not. You consume food. We have to be very concerned about what we're putting into our bodies, whereas film, we're just taking pictures and it's not that big of a deal. So this is one major flaw in the argument. They're saying that because something happened in one industry, it's going to happen in our industry. So that's one flaw you can point out. Another flaw here is that they assume that nothing changes over time. And what I mean by this is that Olympic Foods, or whoever wrote this, is just assuming that whatever the criteria for processing food and selling it to the public was the same as it was 25 years ago. That there are no additional costs that have come around because of the industry that they're in. So this is another flaw that you can talk about in your essay that you write. I hope you found this useful. If you need any other tips, head on over to magoosh.com/GMAT, and we'll be there to help.